Welcome back to Review the Nerds, everybody. I'm Vincent.
And I'm Mike. And today we are reviewing Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Ha! Well, in this one we follow a character named Jyn Erso, who is the daughter of the man who, not necessarily designed the whole Death Star, but he's the one who got it finished. And
yeah, for those Star Wars fans out there, the Genoshans, if you remember from the prequels, are the ones that apparently first came up with the designs. Yeah. And then Revenge of the Sith ended with them actually starting to construct it.
Yeah. Apparently halfway through they figured out, like, we don't know how to make the gun work properly. So they get her father, basically kidnap him, force him to become an Imperial again. Apparently he's a former Imperial. But anyway, Jyn, she's got to find a reason to fight in the rebellion because she really doesn't give a damn. At the same time, find her father, find the plans to the Death Star, this whole bunch of things that's going to take her on a journey that should change her into a completely different person by the end of the story.
And it ends with a bang. Big battle scene.
Yes.
They put the wars in Star Wars in this movie.
Yeah.
So this is the first spin-off standalone film in this new Star Wars series of films we're getting from Disney since they bought the rights from George Lucas. We love Star Wars, but we had a few concerns. I mean, one of which was the director Gareth Edwards, who had done Godzilla. He definitely has a visual eye. It's just that he wasn't necessarily good at directing actors in Godzilla. It was very much focused on the effects, and some of them were kind of stale, one-dimensional. So I think that we had those concerns. So everyone's wondering, how is Star Wars going to do outside of the actual saga movies? Are they going to be able to expand this into this big universe the way they have for some of these comic book superhero films? And this movie answers the question. And the answer is yes. The Force is strong with this one. I think I had more fun watching this, and I came out with a better feeling watching this than I did for The Force Awakens. It's strange because Force Awakens actually has major players coming back, but there's something about this that felt more Star Wars to me. I guess it's because that it takes place during the timeline of the original movie, and there's just so many callbacks. It's filled with like homages and cameos, by the way, which we'll get into during the spoiler section, but just things that just make you just geek out. I will say that the movie's not flawless, but what movie is? But, I would say that some of the undeveloped characters that were an issue in Edwards' last movie, Godzilla, continued in this a little bit. The actors did the best they could with what they had. It's just a lot of them didn't get enough screen time, and the ones that did, maybe weren't, fleshed out enough. But I still thought everyone did a really good job. The action was spectacular. The finale is exciting. I really liked it. I would say it was one of the better Star Wars films. I don't know if I would necessarily rank it with Empire Strikes Back level, but I would say that it is on par probably with the original three.
So Rogue One is something I was actually really looking forward to because I like these little side stories, these events that you may not think had an effect on the war overall, but do. Normal people fighting the good fight, doing their part and helping the war effort, and I really like that. Rogue One just tries to be its own thing, and it does succeed in that aspect. It's in the Star Wars universe. It's literally right before the events of A New Hope. We get to introduce a lot of new characters that we've never met before. They all have their own reasons for getting involved in the conflict. Some of them a little more clear than others. Felicity Jones is Jyn Erso. She was interesting to watch.
And as she's going along, she picks up companions that help her along her quest. All of them kind of represent different archetypes and stuff like that. I felt that there was some classic mythology feels to this.
Yeah.
Hero's journey type thing. Jyn Erso,
played by Felicity Jones, a really good actress.
Yeah.
A lot of people, if you didn't know her before, most people probably came familiar with her through the Theory of Everything, which was a hugely Oscar-nominated film, and she was good in that. Just as good as Eddie Redmayne, in my opinion. Yeah, a good pick for this movie. She plays this character that's been through a lot. She's not exactly heroic at first, but you can tell that she's a very strong, independent person. And she shows it. She can not only kick ass, she has an opinion, she's not afraid to say what she thinks. Once again, not that heroic, so it kind of makes her kind of a weird character to follow at first, but you are invested in her because of what happens to her in her life. You want to see, how she's going to handle these things.
Yeah, we should say that there is no title crawl in this movie, which some Star Wars fans I know are bummed out about. Now, obviously it's not essential or anything. I have to admit, part of you wants to see it because it's Star Wars, but at the same time, the director made a point that they basically do what you would read in the opening crawl as an opening sequence to this movie, where you see Jyn Erso's father, played by Mads Mikkelsen, taken by the Imperials to do the Death Star thing. So you kind of get what you would normally see in a crawl during the opening sequence.
Exactly.
They provide backstory. You see her her traumatic backstory and how she ended up a criminal. Which I will say, one of the things about her that I felt could have used a little bit more development was seeing who she was prior to being brought onto the rebellion. Because we hear she's a criminal, but we never really see her be a criminal, and we know that she, is the one that steals the Death Star plans. So I think it would have benefited to see that she was a thief, a really good one at that, in maybe some kind of sequence that took place before she was recruited. I do feel that there is some elements of her that could have used a little more development later, like especially her transition from criminal to hero. I felt like it was a little sudden and it was not motivated necessarily in the best of ways. There's motivation, but and we'll get into that more later. But obviously it involves her father, who's played by Mads Mikkelsen, who's a fantastic actor who we've seen around quite often.
Just saw him in Doctor Strange, as I said in our Doctor Strange review. Matt Mikkelsen, I'm always happy to see that guy on screen. I really like him.
Yeah. I mean, basically, the Death Star project is almost like an allegory for the Manhattan Project, being brought on to design the nuclear bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
If the Nazis started the Manhattan Project.
I felt he was a little underutilized. I'm sorry to say to the Mikkelsen fans out there, but he's not really in this movie much. I felt like he could have had a little bit more play. He's great in what he has. Another person that I would say is underused is also Forrest Whitaker, who's another fantastic actor.
Yeah, his character is a character that's in the Star Wars Rebels series, and in this one, we see he's technically anti-imperial, but he's not with the rebellion, and we see that he goes to...
Well, he kind of is. He's an extremist.
Yeah, he's an extremist. He goes to methods that the rebellion may not necessarily utilize. His method is does whatever he has to. And unfortunately in this film, what did his character really do that much that they couldn't have done in a simpler way? Or
yeah, he kind of felt kind of redundant, especially considering that he is a father figure to her, and Mads Mikkelsen already is a father to her. So I didn't feel like he was in the movie enough to justify him being in it or serving that father figure role. I mean, he was fine in what I saw of him. I thought that he seemed to have an interesting backstory. I mean, he's basically in pieces. Like, he even says, there's not much of me left to kill. Yeah. He's like, I'm already missing all my limbs and I'm breathing through this tube like Darth Vader occasionally. Yeah. Yeah, I think he seemed like an interesting character. It's just that he wasn't used correctly, I don't think, in my opinion.
Diego Luna plays a character called Cassian, and he's a soldier for the rebellion. And he's kind of an interesting character. He's been fighting, probably before the rebellion was formed, fighting against the Imperials one way or another since he was a small child. And you see it in his character that this war that he's been fighting basically his entire life has really hurt him in a way psychologically. Like, he believes in what he's fighting for, but there's a part of himself that hates what he's become because he's had to do some nasty shit in the name of the rebellion.
But he is definitely one of the things the ends justify the means. Like, he thinks that the things he's done is worthy for the cause. Yeah. But you get the feeling that afterwards he would have been one of those guys suffering from PTSD and needing counseling.
And him and Jin get a lot of interaction with each other, and you see the two of them change both of each other. Cassian gets up in Jin's face. It's like, this fight, you can't escape it. You have to choose a side. And Jin's like, well, if we do this, then what are we really fighting for? So they really challenge each other in how they view what's going on in the galaxy and how they view the war and Imperials and Rebels. So I really like that aspect when they both challenge each other.
There's also the Holy Man character played by Donnie Yen. He's not a Jedi, he's a Holy Man.
Yeah.
He's a priest of the Force, basically.
Yes, he's Force sensitive, I'll say that. He's Force sensitive, but he doesn't have, I don't think he has any Jedi training. He's a blind guy that can kick more ass than everybody else.
And he's basically like a priest of this temple that houses the crystals for the lightsabers.
Yeah, the kyber crystals, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the Imperials, the Empire is mining these crystals to use for the Death Star array. Which was a connection I never made in the original movies. I didn't realize that the Death Star array is powered by the same crystals.
I don't think they ever indicated. With this introduction of this information, I think it's part kyber crystal and part just very large-scale nuclear reactors. So I think it's a combination of crystal and nuclear fusion.
But it is interesting, something that was, thought of as a sacred crystal is being used for such a devastating weapon.
It's a small part of the movie, but it is kind of cool because the Jedi Order is gone. They're totally gone at this point, and yet the Empire is still corrupting the Jedi Order in a way.
Their memory, basically.
Yeah, their memory, violating it in a way. So that's kind of interesting. I wish they expanded on the whole kyber crystal thing. It's kind of a smaller aspect of the whole plot, but still interesting.
Yeah. And he has a companion with him who has like this automatic blaster rifle.
Yeah, it's so powerful that it has like a cord attached into a backpack. So he just it's almost without the spinning aspect, it's kind of close to like a Gatling gun almost. In which how rapid fire it is.
Yeah, and their relationship together, they seem like a pretty cool team. K2. Alan Tudyk.
Oh god, yeah, Kate. Oh, is that Alan Tudyk?
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, Firefly. That was great.
Yeah, he was great. So yeah, the new droid for this movie is K2SO. I think that's his full name.
Yeah, this is called K2.
Yeah, and he has a lot of personality. It's like take C-3PO and take out the bitchiness and add some really fun Starky humor. He's a lot of fun. He has a lot of personality. He talks back to them, whereas like, you know, C-3PO would be like, oh my, you know, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, Master Luke. You know, like K2 is like, just give me the gun. You know, like he talks back. And he's like a repurposed Imperial droid that they programmed. And they say in the movie the reason why he's got such a personality because something happened when they reprogrammed him, and it's kind of cool. So it's kind of like a short circuit thing. Like he was supposed to be like real dead and dull, but he's got this great personality. He's a lot of fun. He brings a lot of humor in the film. He's really cool, and which is good because like this is a war movie, and you need those like little light moments so that we're not in dread the whole time. One of my favorites. One of the favorites in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was great. You know. Tudyk never fails to impress. I've never seen him do a bad job. And the last one to mention of the primary Rogue Ones, I guess, would be the pilot, who doesn't really get a lot of play. He was an Imperial pilot that defected to the Rebels, and he was actually sent by Mads Mikkelsen's character. He's got information and a little holotape of Mads Mikkelsen to play for Jyn Erso. But aside from being a plot device to kind of provide information and to pilot them around, he doesn't have a lot to do.
He's part of the whole sneaking in to get the Death Star plans thing. So he's just relevant enough to be in the movie.
These characters are more serviceable to the story. I don't think that they are necessarily as eye-grabbing or iconic as previous Star Wars characters. Some of them I feel like are a little underdeveloped, a little bit. We mentioned, obviously, the pilot, whose name I can't remember just because he wasn't relevant enough.
Yeah, that is an issue with the movie that, and that's something that always really bothers me, you know, because it's not enough development in certain areas. Could have been a little more tweaking, probably would have been just fine.
What do you think of our villain, Krennic, played by Ben Mendelsohn?
He's cold, he's vicious, he's very ambitious. I rhymed. He was such a bad villain. I feel like we've seen better in the Star Wars universe. Because at the end of the day, he was just a fucking jackass who liked blowing shit up, really. I mean...
Really, he was kind of like Tarkin a little bit.
Yeah.
He was like another one of those stock, like, British bad guys that are always on the Empire side in these movies. Do you notice the Empire is always made up of, like, douchey British guys?
Yeah, but I think what hurts the characters is that he has these other iconic villains around him always kicking dirt in his face. Because we got Grand Moff Tarkin in there. He's just always like putting him down. It's like, I'm going to take the Death Star now. It's like, this is my project. Well, I'm taking it. And then, of course, you got Vader showing up later in the film. It's kind of like in Thor the Dark World was like the main villain in that, where Loki pulled spotlight off him. The other villains kind of do that a little bit.
That's a good point. It was pretty much him constantly being batted down by the villains saying that we're more scary than you are.
I think they should have pulled back Grand Moff Tarkin a little bit, have his time in the movie shortened, just maybe that's like one moment of like, hey, if you don't get this right, the Emperor's going to be right pissed at you. And then just maybe have him show up late at the end of the movie, just being him taking over.
I still feel like Krennic was well played. You know, that calculating kind of, you know, sociopath type mentality. There was a shot in the trailer that wasn't this movie that really bums me out, where he's walking through the battlefield.
The way the cloak is going over the bodies, he's walking over them. It's like he's death walking over what's happened to
he was so menacing. I felt like they needed that shot. Anyways, but getting back to him, I thought, though, that he was a decent villain, but you're right. I mean, he was overshadowed. I love a lot of cameos. I love a lot of people returning. But it's weird because they recast some of them. Like Mon Mothma is recasted with a woman who looks actually quite a lot like the original woman.
Yeah. I mean, we've all seen it in the trailer. She looks, wow.
They also recast Han Solo recently. But they're not willing to recast Tarkin, who, you know, was in one movie, and I know that the actor is, you know, no slouch, I mean, that played him.
Peter Cushing, yeah, back in the day, you know, he was a very, you know, well-known British actor.
But you could recast Harrison Ford, but you can't recast the guy who's in one movie. I just feel like it would have been better to recast him, because I gotta tell you, the CGI face replacement in this was not up to par with like Ant-Man's Michael Douglas or Civil War's Robert Downey Jr. It looked odd. It looked off.
Yeah. I mean, understanding with those two movies that they actually, at least they had the actor to act it out and they CGI'd over his face as he was acting it. It was not horrible. I've seen way worse, really, but
it was still eye-catching. Like, you could notice it.
Yeah, it merely made the character feel separate from the actual, sets that they were on, which was another thing about this film, practical effects. Plus side. But when you have that going on, if the CGI isn't backing up, it'd be one thing if it was like an alien, something we're not familiar with, but it wasn't. It was a human character that we, seen in the first movie, and, so, yeah, they should have recast. I agree with you, Mike.
Yeah. I mean, though, when he said, "You may fire when ready,"
yeah.
I was like,
there we go. All right, everybody, we're now going to get into the spoiler section. If you don't want to know these very important plot details because you haven't seen the movie yet, click right here and skip ahead to the end for our final thoughts. Everyone dies!
Well, that definitely is a spoiler.
Yeah.
This movie is filled with cameos. Some stuff that I didn't expect to see at all. I geeked out over so many, and they're such small little things.
Yeah.
But, you have returning characters that are more obvious, like you have Tarkin, Mon Mothma, and then you also have Organa.
Oh, Senator Organa.
Yeah.
Jimmy Smith comes back to replay, Leia's adopted father. He's got a little bit of gray in the beard to show the time's passing. He's in there for a little bit because he's part of the rebellion.
He's representing Alderaan.
Yeah, he's in there just enough to show, yes, this is how Leia got involved through her dad.
And what I love about his inclusion is that they're not only honoring the original films here, but they're also acknowledging the prequels. And that's what makes this movie really feel like it's a part of the whole mythology. And I really like the little tips of the hat and just, remembering, hey, this guy was part of the Star Wars series. May not be the better part of the Star Wars series, but he was a part of it.
Yeah, I think Senator Organa was one of the few things that people did not have an issue with. I've never heard anyone go, and why doesn't anyone ever talk about how crappy Senator Organa was? No, Senator Organa was fine. He was cool.
Ewan McGregor was awesome. Yes. Obi-Wan Kenobi spinoff. Why isn't that not slated yet?
We're going to get to it. We're going to get to that. Someday that's going to happen. You think Disney's going to pass that up?
It's not slated yet. They're doing Boba Fett before it. Okay, Boba Fett, he's all good and dandy. Obi-Wan! All right. We have the two crooks from the Tatooine cantina.
Oh, yeah. I've got the Death Star on 12 planets. Why are you guys... Wait, what? Now, the only thing weird about that, I'm like, should you guys be on Tatooine already? Should you guys be over there? Did they literally just catch a ship right after they yelled at Jyn and Cassian?
Yeah, because in the movie, the Death Star does a test where they blow up that entire city just about 30 minutes later or something. So they had to have gotten out there pretty fast, I guess.
Shit. We gotta get going. We gotta get on the ship, or otherwise we're gonna miss the band. I love that one song. Let's go.
That was the reason why they had to leave fast.
Once again, we're gonna miss the band. I bought the tickets months ago.
They took old footage and they cleaned it up of the Red Squad leader. What was it, Red Leader?
Red Leader, standing by.
A New Hope. If you remember, he's the one that makes the run for the down the trench for the Death Star, and he gets killed in the process. But we see him here during the final X-Wing battle in space.
Gold Leader's there too. We have R2-D2 and C-3PO make a little cameo, a tiny one, just long enough for 3PO to complain.
Cameo by Carrie Fisher with another CGI face replacement to make her look younger, which again, it's kind of weird looking.
Again, seen worse, but we've also seen better.
I think where it looked wrong is when she smiled. When she smiled, it didn't look right.
Yeah.
Darth Vader is in this movie. They had James Earl Jones return to do the voice.
Yeah.
New physical actor playing him, but that is necessary because he opens up a huge can of whoop ass later in the movie.
Oh my god, yeah, it is so awesome. Like, if you want to see Vader be a legit badass again, this scene, make love to me, Vader scene. Make love to me. Oh.
So here's the thing. I said when I first heard about this movie and when I first saw he was going to be in it, I said, you need to remind me why Darth Vader is the most badass Force wielder that has ever lived. He was literally birthed from the Force. And then they show you. He goes through this corridor just wiping the floor, literally, with rebels.
Yeah.
Just... grabbing them with the Force, throwing them into the walls, taking his lightsaber out,
slicing, hand blocking with those blasts coming, and boom, boom. He's using all his classic signature Vader techniques.
And he killed all of them within maybe 30 seconds.
It was like out of a horror movie, right? Because the lights go down, and all of a sudden it's like, you hear and you can't see him, but you can hear the breathing, and then he turns the lightsaber on, lights the whole fucking thing, just all blast him out of, like, they're all frantically blasting him. He's just like, block, 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 deflect back at you, slice.
And when they finally delivered it, I was like, this is what I was waiting for. So anyways, that is the best scene in the movie, I'll say.
I know it's going to sound weird using this word, because it's a scene of a man slaughtering other men. It was a joyous scene.
And this reminded me why I love Darth Vader, this movie, because it's like, even though you have the originals to look at, it's like, you can almost forget looking at the prequels, you know, why you love him so much. And then this movie's like, this is why you love this guy. I almost want to see more of him, but what we got at that end there made up for almost everything.
And one guy's got the Death Star plans, and then the door is stuck, it's only cracked. He's like, take the plans, and then boom, sabers in the door. It's like out of a horror.
Only thing I'll say about that is I kind of wish that last guy that passed the plans through the doorway was one of the main characters, because like that would have been a really epic heroic moment.
Minus the part where he's like screaming frantically, take it, like, frantically screaming like a bitch. Like that, he's just like, take it. Like that, a little cool, a little like, I'm ready to die.
Yeah, I just think that would have been such a cool death for one of the characters. Yeah. Which, as you pointed out, all of them died. I think this is expected because this is basically a war movie, sci-fi war film. But I feel like Mads Mikkelsen and Forrest Whitaker kind of cancel each other out because both of them are father figures to Jyn, and both of them sacrifice themselves and die. And it kind of feels like you really only needed one father figure to sacrifice himself and die to motivate her. Yeah. I felt like, you know, you didn't really need both, and both of them weren't really in it that long. I guess she's supposed to be believing in the cause at the end of the movie, but she wasn't really believing in the cause till after her dad died. So, I don't know, I just feel like, you know, having the whole thing motivated just because of her dad's death, I feel like there needed to be a little bit more growth.
Yeah, I mean, I don't completely think it was more of a revenge thing. I do think she was just doing it more for her dad than she solidly believed as a person. I think she was doing more on behalf of her father than something that she believed.
I feel like, though, it would have been better if it was more, instead of being, I'm doing this for him, I'm doing this for me, I feel like there was something missing a little bit in fleshing out her arc. The ending battle, which, by the way, is freaking awesome. You have AT-ATs marching on the beach. Yeah. You have people trying to jump out of the way, their feet coming down.
Yeah, you got TIE fighters coming in, X-Wings, Y-Wings are coming in there. You got, like,
Stormtroopers. Huge battle scene, huge! It's like one of the biggest in the series.
Yeah, they break up into different groups, each doing their own thing, you know. I mean, it's all one battle, but they each got their own mission, with their own sub-missions within, like, the grand scheme of things. There's this great scene where, like, they damage one of the two Star Destroyers hovering above the planet, and, like, its engines die and they can't move. And then they get, like, the rebels get this battering ram ship to push it into the other fucking Star Destroyer, and they smash into each other.
Yeah, that was all cool looking. I will say one thing. These things were much easier to destroy in this movie than they were in the original series. Like, do you remember how hard it was for the AT-ATs to be destroyed on Hoth? Awesome battle scene, resulting in a lot of characters having to sacrifice themselves for the greater good.
K2!
Oh yeah, K2, no! I was so bummed.
Why don't they keep killing Alan Tudyk? No!
Oh god, the Serenity death. Ugh. Anyways.
I'm gonna leave on the block.
Oh god, that just hurt. That hurt my fan heart too much. K2, I actually cared more about him dying than I think all of them combined.
Why kill him? He just got his gun.
Jyn Erso and Cassian are inside the facility trying to... K2's helping them, but they're trying to retrieve the plans. And they have to climb up this array to get to the satellite to transmit it, with Krennic pursuing. And then there's a rumor that started about this movie many, many months ago. And a lot of fans latched onto this rumor, including myself.
I know.
Well...
I didn't.
He's one side of it. The rumor was that Jyn Erso was going to turn out to be the mother of Rey, because there's this huge mystery in The Force Awakens about who's Rey's parents, where do they come from, and the thing that movies do so typically is that they have it covered in spoon-fed exposition or a quick flashback. One of the advantages of doing a universe-building franchise is that you're allowed to plant the roots for certain narrative threads that you can pay off later. The idea that she was her mother and planting that seed but not revealing it in this movie, saving it for episode 8 or 9, you know, and then being able to call back and go, oh shit, there is this huge, rich origin story for her mother that now raises a foundation against the Saga series. And obviously they answer this question of whether or not she's her mother by having her killed. She dies.
At the end of the movie, they do it twice in the movie where the Death Star fires its main cannon, but not at full power, so it's just more of like a nuclear bomb goes off. And they blow up the base after the Death Star plans get transmitted, so it's all good. And the Jyn and Cassian are... I found it... I thought it was a little hammy, a little cheesy.
At least they didn't kiss.
Yeah, they didn't kiss. They didn't have this moment. Like they've bonded. They care about each other. They didn't kiss, but they're on the beach as like the explosion is coming at them. There's a huge wave and dust and burning light. Yeah. If I were them, I'd be like, all right, I want to hold you as we die, just because we're gonna die. You want to just chill right here? Or do you want to like walk over to the edge of the beach, even though we're both pretty fucked up? So stay here. Stay here. Okay.
So we only have 30 seconds to live. How far do you think we can get?
I didn't shoot your dad. Don't I get a little action? Like, no.
He got to 0.5 base.
Like, let's walk over to the beach as we're burned by a giant light.
There's something conventional and tropey about it, but I mean, I guess it was kind of like a moment between the two characters. You know, and even though I was a fan of the Jyn Erso Rey rumor, I'm overall happy, and I see what they were going for. They're going for like one of those tragic war stories where a group of people sacrifice themselves to help the cause and all that stuff. So, it was effective in that sense. And this movie completely lends itself to be a prequel for the, original series. It ends right before A New Hope begins. And it completely works. It works better as a prequel than the actual prequels did. It was really a great in-between story. I loved all the callbacks. I loved the imagery. I loved, redoing sets from the Death Star and costume designs. This is the first one to not include John Williams composing the music. Instead, they replaced him with Michael Giacchino, who is composed other scores, like he did the Lost TV series, he did Star Trek. And to me, it is a noticeable change. I feel that he is noticeably inferior to John Williams because, especially when the title card for Rogue One pops up, is the best example I can think of. The music's tone doesn't reflect the movie. The movie's darker, it's a war film, yet it's upbeat and energetic. It just doesn't sound appropriate. And then he recycles and reuses John Williams' themes from the previous films, but they don't completely work in this movie because those themes were specific to elements in those movies. So I feel like he was not a good choice.
You know, Mike, when I was watching the movie, I was afraid to say this because I know the movie's good, but there were a lot of times in this movie where I wasn't feeling stuff, and I couldn't figure out why. And now that you bring it up, I think it probably was because of the music, because honestly, I really don't remember really much of the music from the movie, except for the more notable Star Wars classics.
The John Williams stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it, I was like, well, what's missing? What's not getting me here? And looking back, I think it was probably the music that was letting me down. So, overall, this movie had flaws, yes, but majority, it did a lot of good things. Like we saw in the trailers, there were great effing visuals that really showed the scope of Star Destroyers and the Death Star and everything. Those visuals really were a great part of the film, just to visually see. The characters, for the most part, yeah, they were really good. Once again, lacking a little development here and there, but still really cool characters that I will definitely be seeing people cosplaying and talking about and writing fan fictions for years to come. It was a war movie. It felt like a war movie. Good entry into the Star Wars franchise. 2 years in a row, we've got 2 good entries. Things are back on track, baby.
It's a huge love letter to Star Wars. This really was a movie made for the fans, and it was made by a fan. If you look at interviews with Gareth Edwards, he geeks out, talking about it. And it feels that way. Like, yeah, it's really good. And if this is like any indication of where these solo films are going to go, solo films. Up next, Han Solo movie. But if they're smart, they'll make every one of these individual films their own genre. Like, the Han Solo movie should be a heist con film. I honestly don't know where I'd rank this, but I do know it's better than the prequels. It meshes somewhere in the top spots, but I'm not sure where it places.
I would say it's unequal for Jedi for me. Well, guys, if you haven't seen Rogue One, go check it out. And please, let us know what you're thinking. Tell us down in the comments. We like to read. Let's see what other nerds are thinking here. If you like this video, leave us a like. And of course, if you really like it, click subscribe. But until next time, I'm Vincent.
And I'm Mike.
And this has been Review of the Nerds.
You're blue.
I switched sides. It happens.
Can't both be blue.
We can both be blue.
I can't be both blue.
Both of them be blue.
Jedi don't fight each other. Unless they're Anakin and he's a douchebag.
Ah! Ah!